Hey, all, it's Macabre Derek here with not an RPG rant, but a personal rambling. The big question is, where have you been? Where have I been is simple, around. Long story short, my life recently has taken a interesting turn. New work, being able to end up keeping things on the go, and all in all, just making things a little bit better for myself. That's the good news. The bad news is I kind of hit this state, and I have to be completely open with you guys. It's just I hit this point where I hit a very depressive streak. The long story of it basically boils down to, can I do this anymore? Not just the videos, but just the things I take enjoyment out of. The reason that's been an issue is I've tried to end up coming up with a few new characters, a few new story arcs, a few new games I can run. But without a consistent schedule, it becomes extremely difficult to do so. The other part of it, though, that really ends up hurting is that I've been trying to end up getting involved in the season 3 of Vampire the Masquerade YouTube experiment. And I tried really hard to end up pushing to try and end up developing a Toreador character, and that fell flat on its face. And I had to do something I normally wouldn't do, which is scrap a character. A lot of people are right when they end up saying, "Don't be afraid to kill your head, darling," when it comes down to writing RPGs or developing characters. But I haven't actually dropped the character since I started playing them, since I've been role playing heavily. Especially the past 17 years, I don't think I've ever dropped the character. So for me personally, it kind of became a big deal. Now, the reasons for that is because my brain kind of took a turn. Now, I'm not claiming that the character itself ended up putting me in a depressive streak. That was happening long beforehand. But the character definitely didn't help because what started happening was, and I think any of you who suffer from heavy degrees of self doubt, heavy degrees of self doubt or depression, probably go along with this because I've run into a few people who can't, which makes it a little bit more difficult or if not awkward. Suffice it to say, it usually starts with, this doesn't go right. This isn't working out. So now all of a sudden you quantify and personalize those failures. You view them as failures rather than as experiments. You have a hard time seeing the good, and then you kind of drop it. But unfortunately, this wasn't just restricted to the character. This became the videos I make, the art that I do whenever I'm doing drawing. I haven't drawn in quite some time. Um, Overlays, you know, keeping involved with the community. Um, I honestly feel like I've let a lot of communities that I'm a part of down. Mostly because I've hit this depressive streak, and the sad truth is that when I hit these streaks, I don't produce anything. I don't make anything of value. I look at myself as an abject failure. And this is very much a poor meme rant. I don't particularly care for these. And I guess the best way to describe this is me kind of talking out where I've been recently, and I'm hoping to come to some conclusion. At the very least, maybe somebody can take this little rant and wherever it goes, maybe they can learn something from it. It's been tough. It's been tough. I've been slipping into habits which I won't get into here. Suffice it to say, they've been horribly unhealthy. I've gone down a very self destructive mindset that has destroyed a large part of what I enjoy. And here's the thing that hurts the most. When you're like that, people say take a break. But the problem is when I take a break, it just compounds the issue because I start realizing that all I'm doing is I'm distancing myself even further. And that's what's causing the problem, is that I create distance from the things I actually enjoy. Role-playing games, Magic the Gathering. Do I need to say Warhammer? Really? Drawing, animation. I haven't done an animation on this channel since the only one I posted on it, but I used to do a whole bunch of animations. Now I struggle to focus on those points. I struggle to keep things clean. I struggle to keep my life in order. And it wasn't until, well, I guess the best way I can describe the reason I'm making this video is due to a music video, in fact, released by Boy in a Band, saying I'm not dead. He hasn't produced a video in a year, and now he came back, and the subscribers had welcomed him with great open arms. And I found a lot of myself in that video. It's this depressive streak that really shuts you down. That's the only way I can describe it. You just go complete shutdown. And that's difficult. That's difficult to deal with. And I find myself right now in a position where I'm trying to make things get a little bit better. But each step I do just reminds me on how much more I still need to do and how much further I need to go, and it's not working out. And, it gets bad enough that some days I look at myself and I realize I may not have a future. I know that sounds very dramatic, but this is also kind of an issue with depression, is that you don't see a future for yourself. A lot of us that go through life normally, I should say a lot of people who go through life normally, they do have their stresses on what's next on the horizon, but at least they understand that there's a horizon there. I only understand that in the very loosest terms, that there is a tomorrow. Because I don't think about what's going to be happening tomorrow. I don't think that I can set things up for today that will make things better for tomorrow. I'm kind of just perpetually trapped where I am. And this kind of turns into a very vicious cycle that lets you go, well, quite frankly, it's express from the elevator to hell. I'm currently in a situation where I'm recovering from a stint where I ended up working a lot. And when I say a lot, I'm talking about 20 day stretch plus. It got to a point where I honestly couldn't keep track of the days. I tell people a number, I know it was over 20, but I just state a number because I just hit a level of burnout. Ended up, like I said, I ended up getting a new job. This is at the cost of one of my old jobs. And the reason being was just consistency. I need to end up developing some degree of structure in my life, and I need to end up keeping that going. And the truth of the matter is that I've been wanting to end up doing better by myself. I want to end up producing content. I want to know that I'm capable of sharing a thought or helping somebody else out. That's usually when I'm at my best. As for what I will be doing, I'm trying to come up with a few more RPG rants. Unlike a lot of people who plan videos, I do them as spur of the moment. you've seen points where I'll put like 3 videos up back to back to back. And then there's other times where I just won't post anything for weeks on end. I really wish I could keep us to a schedule. I wish I could end up putting more production time. But until I'm in a situation where I can get a better camera, organize the time for video editing, get a better audio recording software, and quite frankly, find my voice on YouTube, that's going to be a little bit difficult for the time being. Right now, my biggest concern as far as the hobby side of things is trying to get back into Vampire the Masquerade YouTube experiment. I realized that I'm kind of in a catch-22 here. That I have this idea for a character, and I love the iconography. I love the visual aspect of him. I love his personality. I love everything about him, except the fact that I can't find the appropriate hook. And what I mean by hook is you need to end up answering some fundamental questions, and sometimes those fundamental questions get lost. And I don't want to write up something that just seems like a cheap hook. I want something that ends up saying, no, this person is very much a core addition to the Camarilla, which is the sect that this game is set in. Well, let's not turn this into a vampire video, shall we? The issues I've been running into is that I love the iconography and the character a lot more than what I initially produced. Probably because I'm focusing on the character more rather than getting focused on the clan I was playing. And that is very difficult and still a trap I end up falling into from time to time. I don't like to openly admit it, but that's the truth. I do end up falling into these traps where I am using the clan archetype rather than developing a personality behind it. And that becomes a little twisted. I kind of hit the roadblock as far as writing for the character, and I had to end up going to work, so couldn't finish writing that backstory. But it was always on the back of my mind. Unfortunately, the issue with my own illness right now is that my brain has a tendency of exaggerating things to the point where it turns a bump in the road into a catastrophic failing, which that's very much what happened with the previous character. Now that I'm calmed down, I'm pretty sure I could have salvaged it. But I was so caught up in the moment that I kind of just committed myself to saying I'm going to write this character off and move on because I wasn't having fun with them. And I think that's probably the right move, because even if I did move on with the character, my mind space associated with that character is so poisonous right now that the character has just become toxic for me to play. And keep in mind, I don't mind playing bad. Yeah, I don't mind playing the bad guy or bad gal in this case, one way or the other. I don't mind playing the hobo. I don't mind playing the rich man. I don't mind playing any of that. But what I will not end up playing is somebody who I just associate with a certain degree of toxicity. I wouldn't ask anybody to play a character like that. If they honestly got to the point where they hated their character, don't stick it out. Move on. Roll up something else. Which is easy to say, but I'm kind of at this point where what else I want to play? I have so many other characters, and yet none of them seem to fit the bill. I don't know. I guess the other part is that I do have a few members of the community who end up helping me out a lot, mostly on a personal level, and they know who they are. And I just try and end up making things going by day after day. and they've been a huge help for that, but it becomes a little bit difficult after a while. Maybe someday I'll explain like the actual depths of how bad my brain can take it, but I'm pretty sure those of you with wild imaginations could probably take it from there and get to something in the ballpark. So yeah, that's where my head's been at. That's where I've been locked in my own head. Right now, I'm trying to come up with a character and get back to playing, get back to building RPG rants and trying to produce content, something that you guys will enjoy. There's a lot more I want to say, but I think this has gone on long enough. I think I'll add these personal ramblings in just to kind of vent out my frustration or ideas and just try and end up making things work out a little bit more. Who knows? Might end up getting some of these someday. But right now, this is therapy for me, motherfuckers.